So the Chiefs beat the Broncos with a walk-off blocked field goal that had the masses melting down because of a penalty in the second quarter. So I've got to dive into this saved by the refs BS, as well as share my biggest concerns about this team as I break down the epic win over the Broncos. But first, how about those? I don't even know where to begin. For starters, my voice, it's going to be a bit shaky today, okay? For reasons. It's blocked! Oh my god! Oh my god! Let's go! Woo! So bear with me as we talk through a game that I really thought the Chiefs were about to lose, as did pretty much everybody else in the entire NFL, all over social media, because the odds of a blocked field goal happening were basically non-existent. Denver had a 92% win probability when set up to kick that chip shot of a 35-yard field goal, but thankfully, the strongest pound-for-pound man on the team, John Cena,
we call him John Cena,
aka Leo Chenal, saved the game, and we will definitely get into that, trust me, but let's dive into this game more first, because honestly, there are some causes for concern here to process through, as the Chiefs did not play their best game. The Chiefs won the toss and deferred, with the Broncos quickly going 3 and out. Chris Jones almost got to Nix on third down, and Justin Reed wrapped Mims up for the first punt of the game. Almost the entire first quarter was all defense, resulting in 4 punts in a row. The Chiefs did have some movement on their opening drive, though, with Mahomes scrambling for a first down on 3rd and 10. Then on 3rd and 4, Kelce snagged one and turned upfield for 12 to bring them up near midfield. Kareem Hunt was involved as well, but it was a very tough sledding day today in the run game, especially against a great Broncos defense. Mahomes was then sacked on 3rd down, and he appeared to be expecting Worthy to keep running across the field based on the coverage, but he shot further up the field instead, even with a deep safety. So Mahomes held onto the ball to keep it safe, and punt number 1 for KC was the result. Spags then caught Bo Nix completely off guard as he blitzed both McDuffie and Najee Johnson on first down, resulting in a loss of 17. Of course, they couldn't overcome that deficit, and so Mahomes and company got the ball right back with some nice field position thanks to a pretty good return by McCole Hardman. However, the Chiefs immediately went 3 and out, and this time, Denver started to heat up. Mims had a 14-yard run, and they kept it on the ground or via checkdowns to matriculate down the field before Tranquil nearly sacked Nix after a fumble. Then a broken coverage allowed Trotman to gallop 34 yards on a shallow crosser down the left sideline. Najee Johnson and Drew Tranquil kind of ran into each other on that, so I'm not sure whose responsibility Trotman was. But either way, a couple plays later, Nick Bolton passed off Devon Vele to Casper, the friendly ghost in coverage, for a very easy touchdown, which made it 7-0 Denver. This next drive is where a major concern was not only exploited, but proven still to be true, as Wanye Morris had to exit the game with a knee injury listed as questionable to return. So in comes the Chiefs' second-round draft pick in Kinglsey Suamataia, who lost his starting spot to Wanye after the Bengals game, and many were hoping, praying, thinking happy thoughts, good thoughts. That time on the bench allowed Kinglsey to grow as a rookie, during practice all these weeks. But he got worked over, okay? Let's just be honest. He got worked over. I'll dive into that concern in more detail here in a bit, but in spite of that, on this drive, the Chiefs were able to move the ball down the field with Kelce, Hopkins, and Justin Watson getting involved until Mahomes miraculously avoided a sack here as Benito attempted to sling him down. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Kinglsey here, but look at this rep. It was not good, aka very bad. In spite of that, Noah Gray went 13 yards on a key 3rd and 5 to move the chains. The next 3rd down, Mahomes had so much pressure that he tried to scramble to no avail, and a 36-yard chip shot made it 3-7 with 9 to go in the second. Lil Jordan Humphrey got 20 yards up the right side. Then on 3rd and 1, after a solid run stop on 2nd down, Bo Nix executed a perfect play-action pass, then threw the ball perfectly placed to Cortland Sutton for a 32-yard strike. Again, a perfect pass as McDuffie trailed behind in coverage. I will say, though, I think McDuffie met his match in this game, with Sutton getting the best of him more times than not. This was one of McDuffie's worst performances in his career, giving up 5 catches on 8 targets for 67 yards and a touchdown. To be clear, though, I'm not freaking out about this performance. It's not an issue down the road, in my opinion, because everybody has an off day. And after this touchdown with 6.5 minutes to go in the second quarter, the Chiefs defense stepped up and didn't allow a single touchdown, a single point the rest of the game anyway. So as a defense, I think they adjusted well and aren't really to blame here after adjustments were made, because if you allow a team to score just 14 points after your offense is averaging 28 points per game since the beginning of October, that typically is a very easy W, but not in this game. It can never be so simple against a division rival, the Broncos, and from here, I've got to talk about a penalty that happened in the second quarter that Broncos fans are blaming for the loss. And yes, I'm being serious. And then I got to dive into the rest of this game, including the wild ending, along with my biggest concerns for the team moving forward, right after this. All right, well, believe it or not, but the NFL season is already halfway over, which is why, if you haven't already, you need to make plans to get out to Arrowhead as soon as possible, especially since the Chiefs have been winning all of these games. The plan was for me and my wife to go to the Broncos game, but she sadly got sick, so the goal is to make it to another before season's end, and I cannot wait. And that is where my special hookup from today's sponsor, SeatGeek, comes right in. Everyone can use my code HBTC10 and get 10% off any tickets on SeatGeek, whether you are a new customer or not. This includes Chiefs games or any other NFL games for that matter, as well as sports, concerts, festivals, you name it. SeatGeek also makes the process pretty easy for you, rating tickets on a scale of 1 to 10. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. And no matter how many times you've bought tickets using SeatGeek before, code HBTC10 is still going to get you 10% off your next order. So what are you waiting for? Take out your phone, open up the SeatGeek app, and add code HBTC10 to your account ASAP, because this offer is only available for a limited time. Okay, so with the Chiefs down 14-3, they needed some points here on this next drive desperately. Well, Kelce got about as wide open as you possibly can for 22 yards on the first play. Gray and Hopkins were next up to get KC near the 30. Well, back-to-back sacks not only set up a 4th and very long, but had KC out of field goal range again. Concerns along the O-line, but I got to give some credit to Denver's defense here. They are top 3 in pressures, tied for second most sacks heading into this game. They are the real deal. So it was a combination of a very good D-line and also Kinglsey getting worked over. Sadly, he went against Trey Hendrickson the last time he got pulled, and that's one of the best pass rushers in the league. And then you have to go up against a very stout D-line in the Broncos defense. I kind of feel bad for him, but again, this is a big problem. We'll get into that. After this sack, though, the second sack in a row, safety Brandon Jones, he ended up getting flagged for illegal contact. So instead of 4th and Overland Park, as the broadcast would say a couple weeks ago, and a Chiefs punt, this gave the Chiefs a set of fresh downs that turned into a very nice Kareem Hunt catch out of the backfield to the 11. A shovel to Kareem, as well as another run by Hunt, got them to the 2. And on 4th and goal, KC opted to go for it, with Mahomes connecting to a wide open Travis Kelce near the end of the second quarter to make it 10-14, Chiefs trailing by 4. That touchdown, by the way, before we get into the crying, was Kelce's 76th career score, tying tight end Tony Gonzalez for the most touchdown receptions in franchise history. So one more here soon is going to have Kelce at the number 1 spot at the top of the list in franchise history, which is just greatest of all time type stuff. Anyway, something else that was number 1 on the pathetic losers list was actually the illegal contact penalty that gave KC a fresh set of downs. There's only one angle at this point in time of the recording that was shown on the broadcast, and honestly, there is contact, but you can't see the entire thing go down. Has less contact happened and been flagged before? Yeah, but has more contact also happened than this and also not been flagged? Also, yes, it's just how it goes sometimes. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because, did you know this is the talking point now based on social media's most recent meltdown after the Chiefs won this game? That's right, a call that happened in the second quarter is why the Broncos lost this game. Never mind, they didn't score a single point for 2.5 quarters. They lost because of this one call. I mean, the mental gymnastics these peasants do is absolutely exhausting and quite comical. First, you can't call flags late in the game, i.e. the holding penalty in Super Bowl 57 or the clear flag on the Bengals defensive back end of game earlier this season. You can't call a foul, a penalty. You can't throw a flag that late in the game. You have to let them play, okay? That was actually the complaint about the Chiefs for quite a while. It's not about the penalty per se, but about when the penalty is called. Well, they went from that to no calls happening late in games. So don't just let them play. If they actually do something that deserves a flag, or they think deserves a flag, like Jawan Taylor moving a bit early in overtime against the Bucs, then you're supposed to throw a flag, and the Chiefs are only getting a W because of that. So first, you don't want flags to be called late in games, then you do, and now it doesn't even matter when flags are thrown at all. Any flag thrown in the game is grounds for the refs fixing games for the Chiefs. Well, what if, here's a crazy thought, winners just find a way to win and overcome the freaking odds? Here's a couple of recent examples from this season. Against the Bucs, McDuffie got flagged for a phantom hold on 3rd and 6 in the first quarter. Karlaftis actually sacked Baker Mayfield, which would have forced a punt. Instead, that flag turned the drive into a first down and ultimately a Rachaad White touchdown. This could have prevented overtime altogether and resulted in a quote-unquote easier win for the Chiefs, but they won anyway because winners find a way to overcome and win. Then, a few weeks prior, against Atlanta, again, this year, the Chiefs got flagged for 2 phantom calls near the end of the game. This ultimately helped the Falcons get a fresh set of downs, and they got to the 13-yard line down by 5. You need a touchdown. They ultimately ended up going for it on 4th and 1. The Chiefs defense stopped them, though, stonewalled them, and the result was game over. Winners find a way to win. I mean, they are the most winningest org since 2018. That were the 6th least beneficiaries of penalty calls in the NFL heading into the game this week, and are also one of the most flagged teams in the league since Mahomes became a starter. Basically, no matter what happens, no matter how the Chiefs win a game, there's going to be meltdowns online, and people are just going to whine, moan, and cry about the refs because they can't deal with losing. I honestly think they were given participation trophies as a child and never taught how to accept a loss and hold themselves accountable and how to be better in their pathetic little lives. But facts hurt people's feelings these days, so I'm just going to move on from that before literal safe spaces are needed from people who are hate watching this video. All right, back to the game, because after that Chiefs touchdown, the Broncos had under 2 minutes in the half and nearly got into field goal range after multiple quick passes, but thankfully Courtland Sutton, he forgot how to catch a football on this play that would have got them around the 20-ish yard line. And that meant Lutz had to attempt a 60-yard field goal that McCole Hardman caught because it was well short. He caught it in the end zone and ran out of gas trying to return it. I mean, if he would have returned it, I would have lost my mind, maybe even worse than I did at the end of this game. That gave the Chiefs the ball to start the third quarter, trailing by 10 and needing points, but they very quickly went 3 and out after Hunt went nowhere and pressure from the left forced a dirted screen pass. Then Mahomes was sacked on 3rd down. And to me, this one was more of a coverage sack than anything. Casey didn't really seem to have anybody open. Mahomes was holding onto the ball, and Denver has possibly the best coverage unit in the league. Anyway, the Ariza punt resulted in a 28-yard return by Mims, but thankfully the Broncos went 3 and out, also due in part to a holding penalty, but also the defense standing strong. This next drive was actually the longest of the day by any team, but it started out very rough as Kinglsey Suamataia appeared to lose another rep and Mahomes got lit up from behind. It turns out that while Kinglsey did indeed lose that rep, Mahomes wanted Carson Steele to offer chip help on that side, and he went the opposite direction. Either way, you had tight end help, Kinglsey, plus Mahomes wanting help from Steele. That is not a recipe for success when you need to devote 3 guys to 1 player. That was the 4th sack of the day to set up 2nd and 20. But on 3rd and 13, Mahomes shook Bonito loose after Kinglsey once again lost his rep and Patrick scrambled, extending the play, finding Pirine for 35 yards against his former team. The next 3rd down was caught by Kelce, then a couple passes to Hunt led to a Mahomes scramble for 7 more. They needed 8 though, so they opted to go for it on 4th and 1, and Hunt got just enough to move the chains to set up 1st and goal. Zach Allen almost picked Mahomes off on a failed screen, but I think the sun got in his eyes a little bit, so thank you, sun god. Then on 3rd and 3, an interesting decision was made here by trying to target Justin Ross. He was one-on-one in the corner, but he got overthrown, and it would have been a very tough catch for him to haul in. So Butker hit another field goal to make it 13-14. That failed red zone drive, by the way, made the Chiefs 1 for 10 in the red zone over the last few games against the Vance Joseph-led Broncos defense. So some of the failed execution deserves a tip of the cap to the Broncos and their defensive strategy against KC when down in the red zone, because it's been a very effective thing that they've done. Nix got one of his tight ends involved for a 1st down grab. A couple Estime runs set up this Vele catch on 3rd down, but this end around to Mims went nowhere, and that set up a long 3rd and 11, and Nick Bolton penetrated the line and ran faster than I've ever seen this man move, sacking Nix for a 16 yard loss. So once again, the defense holds strong. Worthy finally got involved for a quick 11 yards. Then Hunt caught a check down same side for 26, becoming the leader on the team in receiving. Someone who might have been the leader in receiving yards 2 plays later, though, was Xavier Worthy, who beat press coverage on the outside, and Mahomes attempted to connect for the deep shot, but no dice, threw it out of bounds. And on top of that, Worthy was shook up on the play, needing attention from the trainers as he landed awkwardly on his elbow trying to make a play for the ball. It was just too far out of bounds, and Mahomes said after the game that missed throw was on him. He said he made the throw a bit off balance on a scramble play, but he's made those throws before, and he needs to make that one. And when he says scramble play, I don't know if that meant Worthy's route wasn't the design or really what Mahomes was meaning here, because he was in the pocket. Either way, it was a miss on first down. Watson went nowhere. Then the pass was batted down on 3rd and 9, with Mahomes once again getting pressured off that left side. And I will add here that Worthy did eventually return, and I don't think the injury is serious, but you hated to see yet another receiver down to injury. Anyway, the left side for the Chiefs defense gave Nix problems once they got the ball, with FAU tackling him for a loss. Then on 3rd down, Spags sent the entire house, including the water boy, after Nix, and he threw a ball to Lenexa, Kansas for a very quick 3 and out. This gave KC the ball back, down by 1 with just under 11 minutes to go in the 4th. And thank God, Wanya Morris was somehow able to return after this drive, with Andy Reid saying in his presser today that Wanya doesn't seem to have any long-term concerns with that knee that got banged up. Well, that's good news, but I am still concerned about the left tackle depth for reasons I'll get into here in a bit. But even with Wanya back, not all pressure was given up by the left side. Carson Steele appeared to miss his pass pro assignment again on 1st down, and Mahomes took a shot as he was basically diving backwards for an incomplete pass. Steele then had a carry for -3 yards to set up a 3rd and 13, and with pressure bearing down on Mahomes again, he actually found a wide-open DeAndre Hopkins for 31 yards up the left side, bringing them just inside the 20. The next 3rd down featured nobody immediately covering Kelce left side in the slot. So on 3rd and 4, both Mahomes and Kelce saw this, and that's why Kelce quickly turned around to catch this pass and move the chains. The Broncos defense continued to hold strong, though, inside the 10, with back-to-back Hunt plays bringing them to the 2. But sadly, Mahomes sailed the pass over a wide-open Kelce on 3rd and goal. Mahomes said he thought the linebacker was going to get more depth on Kelce, but he didn't. So in retrospect, he should have lasered the ball into Kelce for the score. So that's 2 touchdowns missed, that deep shot for Worthy, and that 2-yarder to Kelce. And you then have the Chiefs trailing by 1 point with 6 minutes to go in the game. And that's when Andy Reid said there was no thought about going for it on 4th down from the 2, wanting instead to leave that drive with points no matter what, and therefore, Butker kicked a 20-yarder to bring KC up 16-14. That gave the Broncos the ball with 6 minutes left, plus 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning, needing only a field goal to win it. To make matters worse, Harrison Butker then whiffed on the kickoff with the ball landing short of the landing zone, and that gave Denver the ball at the 40-yard line instead of the 30. Denver then got a 1st down on 3rd and 1, with Sutton scooping a quick low pass for 2. Sutton and Estime then helped move the chains again with time ticking down to the 2-minute warning. KC held Denver to a 3rd and 6 using a timeout to stop the clock, but Nix found Sutton again with McDuffie in coverage for the first as he stepped up in the pocket, making a perfect pass to Sutton. That moved the chains and essentially allowed the Broncos to drain the clock out and call a timeout with 1 second left in the game to set up an easy 35-yard field goal. This basically meant game over, or so I and everybody else thought. The problem is, the Chiefs' special teams unit found a weakness of Denver's during field goals and extra points earlier in the game and fully exploited it here on this one. Leo Chenal not only plowed right through the lineman, but also fully extended to make the diving block. Let's see what happens here. It's probably game. Kick is up. It's blocked! Oh my God! Let's freaking go! Well, this obviously ended the game, and everyone lost their ever-loving minds because a walk-off blocked field goal is a very rare thing to occur. The Chiefs escaped to 9-0 on the season, with the Broncos falling to 5-5. The Chargers did win their game yesterday as well, so they are now second in the West a little bit more clearly, with the Chiefs obviously at the top. Now, Mahomes was 28 for 46 in this game, throwing for 266 yards and a touchdown that coulda / should have been 3 touchdowns, but was also sacked 4 times. The biggest concern about the sacks weren't the fact that the Broncos' D-line is fantastic and top 3 in most statistics, pressures, sacks, etc., but it's the fact that Kinglsey Suamataia gave up 7 pressures, 3 QB hits, 3 hurries, and a sack, but played just over half of the offensive snaps, at least from a pass blocking standpoint. The second most pressures given up was Trey Smith with 3. So Kinglsey had 7, Smith had 3, but Smith had 15 more pass block snaps than Kinglsey did. That's why I think the biggest concern to me is, outside of Wanye, you need help at the left tackle spot for the love of God. Kinglsey, with all due respect, he's just not ready. And with Donovan Smith basically saying last night he's still available, I think the Chiefs need to make a freaking phone call and do all they can to bring that man in ASAP. Mahomes can only take so much. The guy was pressured 21 times. And on top of all that madness, he was playing with a banged-up ankle. Both of those things affected his throwing mechanics and also had him missing throws. Some was just on him, but it's kind of a combination of everything there, plus a Broncos secondary that is elite at holding people down in man coverage, and the Chiefs don't really have any man beaters. I also can't wait for Isaiah Pacheco to return because Kareem Hunt tweaked his knee. If we didn't need enough news to be concerned about. He tweaked his knee at some point early on in this Broncos game. He did manage to finish the game, but he was not as effective in the run game and was pulled out at times for Carson Steele. And when Steele was out there, he struggled in pass pro. So imagine a combo of both Hunt and Pacheco. Both can run, catch the ball out of the backfield, and hold up much more effectively in pass protection. The good news here is Andy Reid said today during his presser that Juju Smith-Schuster, Charles Omenihu, and Isaiah Pacheco are all close to returning to play. Juju is obviously the closest. He's the only one of these 3 that's not actually on IR, but we should hopefully see Pacheco back sooner rather than later with their 21-day windows to return opening up. And again, that is much needed. Kareem Hunt only averaged 2.5 yards per carry yesterday, his worst of the season, I believe, but due to that ineffectiveness on the ground, they resorted to tossing him the ball more on checkdowns, and he did not disappoint. Hunt had 7 catches for 65 yards, averaging 9.3 yards per reception, with Kelce and D-Hop trailing behind in the receiving game. Kelce had 8 for 64 and a tutty, and D-Hop had 4 for 56. The offense was anemic at times, only scoring 1 touchdown and settling for 3 more field goals, being 1-4 in the red zone. It's not great, but again, Denver's defense is one of the best in the league. Then, KC finished under 50% on the day on third downs, converting just 7 of 16 when they were coming into this, converting well over 60% over the last 4 games. Now, I think that's also a bright note for the offense here. In spite of all the pressures given up, Mahomes not 100% and missing a couple of key throws, the run game getting stifled as well as receivers struggling to get open at times, KC was only like 2 plays away from making this game way out of reach. They probably win by 10 plus. Again, then the Chiefs defense on top of that with the offensive woes, they stepped all the way up outside of the first 2 touchdowns scored early, holding Denver to just 14 points on the day. Najee Johnson had a career day leading the team in tackles and recording a sack, and guys stepped up at miscellaneous times to make plays when it mattered most. Now, we didn't see a lot of pressure on Nix. He didn't even have to scramble that much, so that is a little bit of a concern, I guess. We didn't see Chris Jones getting involved too much, although we know he's always making plays, eating up double teams and stuff like that, but I would have liked to see Nix in a bit more trouble than he was. Then if we look at special teams, they were okay, not great, not horrible. Matt Araiza had a tough break with his punts resulting in touchbacks, at least 2 of them. Butker, he messed up the kickoff at the end, but he did score 10 points on the day, so you got to give him credit there. But then they did make the one key play that mattered the most with that blocked field goal, so thank you, Leo Chenal. That wasn't KC's best game on any phase. Meanwhile, it was one of Denver's best performances, and in spite of that, they still walked away with a loss, with Broncos fans aplenty still crying to this day, or at least to this very second, about a penalty in the second quarter, you little losers. People can cry all they want about the refs, but the Chiefs are moving on to Buffalo, where they take the Bills on this Sunday. They are traveling and are going to be on the road for this one, and they need to heal up and get ready because that is going to be a dogfight. However, It's a convo for another day later this week. And before we focus on that, I do want to get your thoughts on this game. While the ending was absolutely electric and resulted in a W, a big old W, what were some of your greatest concerns and what do you think the Chiefs need to do about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?